The first cryptid indexed here at the Cryptic Archive came across my desk in a disturbing article about a 3-year-old child who had been suspected of being kidnapped by a strange creature. Let me introduce entry number 0001, Pombero. The story of El Pombero hails from South America, more specifically in Paraguay, but there are also many accounts of his existence from Argentina and Brazil too. The mysterious creature is called by many names depending on the region. His original name given by the Guarani people was karai pyhare, and it roughly means man of the night. Pyrague is another common name which means hairy feet, and pomberito is also quite common, adding the extra denotation of his small size to the title. But who or what is the Pombero, and how would you know one if you saw it? Pombero is said to be a small, ugly man with short arms and hairy feet. Many describe him as wearing a straw hat and carrying a bag over his shoulder. Some even say his hairy feet give him the ability to sneak up on people without them hearing him. He is even said to sneak up on people and touch them, causing his victims to break out into chills as he disappears. Pombero lives in the forest and typically only visits rural areas. He is known for imitating nocturnal birds and other forest creatures, but most of all, people say that he whistles before he appears, and that if you try to mimic his whistle, he'll get really mad. Most say you shouldn't even whistle at night if you believe in Pombero. Many see Pombero as a protector of the forest though, someone who keeps kids from hitting birds with slingshots, and others see him as a harmless troublemaker, someone who lets cows out of their pens, steals chicken eggs, and scatters rice, corn, and other foodstuff where it shouldn't be. Natives will leave out offerings to Pombero to keep him from causing mischief. Most specifically, he likes cigars and rum. But there is definitely a more sinister side to the Pombero, stories that a simple myth can't explain away. While most explain Pombero away as being a simple trickster that is essentially harmless, others have claimed that Pombero is an evil entity. And it's not like such stories are uncommon, especially when you consider the tales of evil gnomes and dwarves from all over Europe. In fact, some even call Pombero a goblin. Even worse is that Pombero is also known for capturing ungrateful girls and assaulting them. This is likely why there is also a lore attached to the Pombero for making women pregnant simply by touching their belly. In reality, it's probably a lot worse than that. More and more stories have been popping up in the news that outright accuse Pombero of kidnapping and other malicious encounters too, which makes it hard to believe this supposedly mythical being is as harmless as most make him out to be. In one case, a man named Luis and his family were invited to a neighbor's birthday party. The trip took them through mountainous terrain, so he brought a machete with him to cut through the dense brush. When they returned home, it was nighttime, and as they passed through the forest, Luis recalls hearing strange noises that almost sounded like strong winds blowing. Armed with a flashlight and his machete, Luis went to check out the sounds when suddenly something grabbed him and began to pull him into the dense vegetation. Frantic at being dragged along the ground by some unknown person, he sliced the machete into the darkness behind him. This angered the creature, at which point he grabbed Luis by the neck and threw him about 10 meters into a mango tree. When Luis tried to get up, the being grabbed him by the neck and pulled him down to the ground again. The next time he tried to get up, it hit him in the back and then in the stomach. At one point, Luis tried to grab it by the arm and felt it was incredibly hairy. It's not 100% clear from the article why Pombero stopped attacking, but it seems likely that the screaming of his wife and daughter alerted the neighbors, who then came out to help and found Luis beaten within an inch of his life. He was never able to see his attacker, but he was convinced it was none other than Pombero. Another startling case comes from Argentina, where a woman named Mariela Escalante claims Pombero took her son and tried to drown him. Mariela owned a butcher shop and was busy unloading some cattle when her 3-year-old son Sebastian left the shop heading for her sister's house. He was dressed as Captain America with a cape and all. He told his mom he was going out to search for his comic book characters on the way, accompanied by his dog Morocho. But he never made it to his aunt's house, and soon Mariela and all of the neighbors began a frantic search for the young boy. They checked all of his normal haunts and couldn't find him or his dog anywhere. After 2 hours, the police got a call that a boy had been rescued from inside a lagoon. Another woman named Gladys Arguello was searching her fields when she heard a dog barking and followed the sound to find Sebastian. She claims the dog, Morocho, was actually holding on to the boy's cape and trying to drag him out of the lagoon. Upon seeing the boy, Gladys jumped into the lagoon and managed to get him to safety. It might sound as though Sebastian could have wandered off on his own, an innocent mistake for a child to make, but that's only until you realize several other factors. You see, the lagoon the boy was found in was not nearby. It was in fact 3 kilometers away, and according to authorities, there were several plots of land in between there that were fenced in with wire. There were supposedly 7 fences for this kid to somehow manage to find a way around or to climb at 3 years old. And this child also would have had to cross 2 mountains to arrive in the location he was found at. Mountainous terrain is not easy to pass, and as I mentioned in Louise's story, he brought along a machete to manage it. What recourse would a 3-year-old have? Strangest yet is that there were weird zigzag patterns found on the ground leading away from where they found Sebastian. The mom says that Sebastian never went far from home, that he didn't know the mountains well and stayed away. His mother also claims that it's not the first time a child has been lost and then found far away in that area. Other locals can confirm this account, saying that a young girl was taken and found in a spot very close to where Sebastian had been located, but that she was speechless and could never tell how she had gotten there. After getting checked out by the doctor, Sebastian told his nana that he wanted to rescue Captain America in the lagoon and that Morocho wouldn't let him. Regardless of what might have happened, that's a good dog as far as I'm concerned. It does make you wonder though if perhaps the boy thought he was following Captain America because of the way this thing was dressed. Pombero isn't said to dress in quite this way, but Captain America does wear a shield on his back, which the child might have mistaken for the sack Pombero is said to wear over his shoulder. It might have been wearing some kind of red or blue too to cement the mistake. It does make me wonder if something more sinister isn't going on in the quaint town of Perón de Estrada. If at least 2 children were taken to an area very similar to the lagoon where Sebastian was found, perhaps there is a child predator living nearby. In both cases, the children were found alive and well, though. It's hard to say how accessible the area is to vehicles, though, to know if it was even possible for someone to abduct these children via truck or car. And if they did, why just leave them there? It's all very strange, but I hate to say that in these 2 particular cases, there isn't enough information for me to make a definitive conclusion on either account. Now, in my research, I did find a few videos that are supposed to be Pombero sightings, but in my opinion, many of them look like monkeys, or maybe even sloths, like this one.
¿Dónde?
And this one.
¿Eh? ¿Qué es lo que vos estabas haciendo recién? Decime. ¿Eh? Tengo sueño. ¿Quién te enseña a hacer esas cosas?
The one has an arm that is just incredibly too long for me to think it's anything but a sloth or a monkey. I will say, even though the quality is bad on this next clip, I think it's the most believable of them all.
Mira, chabón, ¿qué es eso? Mira, boludo. No, mira, tiene una cabeza, boludo. Para, no, para. No me asusten. ¿Qué es eso? Veo un brazo.
No se mueve.
Para. Parece una piedra, boludo. ¿Qué es eso? Sí. Para, no me asustes.
No.
Wow.
Mira cómo camina. No,
Dios.
cuita,
¡Cuita!
It actually looks like a small man walking with a cane, and you can even make out a sack being carried over his shoulder. I think this is the weirdest part though, where it actually seems like the man's leg unhinges and swings forward before returning to normal again. Of all the videos I've seen, this at least looks like it could possibly be Pombero. I've also read many personal accounts about encounters with Pombero too. And in each case, there is some very supernatural behavior at play. Some say they smell a strong scent of tobacco accompanying a visit from Pombero. Others have said it's as though he can cast a spell on you in order to lure you into the forest. One poster on Reddit recounted a story told by her mother who grew up in rural Paraguay. As the daughter tells it, her mother was outside with her grandma before dusk, and her mother saw a beautiful white baby chick and tried to catch it, in the poster's own words. It kept running away from her, even though it seemed like she was just about to catch it multiple times. After what seemed like she was running in a circle for minutes, my grandma came out of nowhere and yanked my mom's hair. My mom said at that moment she was broken from a trance, that the sun had already set and she was actually very deep in the woods. My grandma smacked her really hard on the head and told her that El Pombero almost succeeded at taking her. Imagine if that's what happened with little Sebastian in the previous story. He did say that he saw Captain America, and what if Pombero had the power to compel children with illusions in order to snatch them? It definitely makes the whole situation a lot more mysterious, doesn't it? So what do you make of the Pombero legend? Is he real? Or have people been overly superstitious after forgetting to close their chicken coop up tightly at night? Maybe it's a little bit of both, huh? Ultimately, I believe these myths come to fruition for a reason, and it's usually based in part by actual experiences. There remain countless unexplained creatures and entities in the world, and I, for one, will not discount the possibility that Pombero very well could exist. It certainly makes me grateful that I don't live in Paraguay, that's for sure. Please share any of your thoughts and any personal experiences you might have had in the comments below. If you have a story you'd like to share with me, send it to my email at me@crypticarchive.com. If you'd like hearing about creepy cryptids and other paranormal experiences, please subscribe as there will be way more. And if you'd like to help out and hear many of my personal accounts up front, then consider joining my Patreon too. The link is in the info below and you can pledge any amount you desire. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be sorting this one into my cryptid file. Entry 0001 on Pombero. Complete.